Hey everybody, we're live with another Ducks win that we get to talk about after last game. I've been looking forward to this one so much, Eddie. Ducks cleaning up in overtime, 2-1. Who else other than Rickard Rakell to bury the overtime winner? Spoiler alert as we break down this game. I have to talk about it a little now because I listened to part of the third period all the way home when I was driving home. I saw most of the game, and then overtime, I couldn't wait, and I was probably bit off all my fingernails watching this game, Eddie. How about you? The Ducks had so many chances and just couldn't find a way home on quick, and then Rack City comes up huge.
I mean, this was such a nice rebound game from the boring games we were getting in the last few. And to have Rakell win it in overtime, and I mean, this was just a crazy game. This was a fun game to watch throughout. I mean, even the third period, I think there was only a total of 9 shots between both teams, and it was still an exciting game. The only downside, I think, is that LA gets a point, but who cares? I mean, we're not gonna dwell on that. We're gonna talk about the Ducks having a big OT win against the Kings, the biggest game of their regular season, probably the biggest game the Ducks have had in a regular season game in I don't know how long. I mean, this was just insane, and I think everybody's happy right now that they're going home with 2 points.
When you win the Pacific Division year after year after year, you don't have these types of games in the regular season. You just don't. We really expected this to come out and be a monster game for both teams, and the Ducks had the benefit of the Kings playing on the second half of a back-to-back, so they needed to take advantage of it, and I felt like the Kings stuck with them. I felt like this was a good game back and forth, but I was so happy to see that finally just end in overtime. I was like, don't go to a shootout. We got to end it here. We can't risk that. Getzlaf with a monster game. Nick Ritchie, who's just been buried by everybody across social media or in the media in general of how bad his play has been as of late, chips in. And then, of course, Rickard Rakell, who's just been the sniper for the Ducks all year, gets the goal to win it. Let's get to the pregame really briefly because we got to talk about how awesome this game was. JT Brown finally slots back into the lineup, and which is a great thing. I feel like the speed was much needed in this game. The Ducks, scratch Vermette, and then unfortunately Terry gets scratched, Welinski gets scratched, Holzer, and then Kelly, Captain Canada, not playing tonight. Eddie, I know that really hurts your feelings just because of how much of a prominent player and a leader he has been for Canada. And, although they didn't win the gold, it's important that he plays on Anaheim, your favorite team.
How long are we going to dwell on this before?
For the rest of my life.
Until he's no longer a Duck. So I have to deal with this until free agency, and then if he signs a 1-year contract, I think we're going to have to do 82 episodes of this next season.
Of how good or bad he's been. Yeah, no, I'll definitely bring it up every chance I get. Anytime that his name is in the notes, it's definitely going to pop up on the podcast. And then, of course, to round out the starting lineup, John Gibson, our Vezina vote-earning goaltender. I feel like he should be anyway, so do you and many others. Gets to start in the crease against Quick. Quick is no slouch himself this season. He's having a hell of a year, so it was a great matchup for these two guys. This first period, I really, really felt like the Ducks had their chances in this first period, but it was kind of a bit of a back and forth, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I gotta cut you off again because this is 2 shows in a row now where you have forgotten our intro.
Well, I got too excited. Yeah, I know. Dang. Yeah. Let's get the intro started, Eddie.
The counter's up to 2. We'll see how many shows it goes after this.
Get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner. Gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani. Around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal. Three of the fans want one. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
All right, now we can get into the first period.
See, now you can jab at me with that. It's 2 shows in a row. I've been very unprofessional. I've been overexcited to talk, and I ran over our intro.
Well, this game's understandable. I mean, this is an exciting win, so I can understand wanting to get into the breakdown. But let's jump into it. So, looking at what we have here, I mean, there wasn't a ton going on early on. There was a lot of good pressure from Anaheim, but I guess the first thing that really happened was there's a turnover early. and Gibby has to make a save on Carter in the slot. And I feel like this has been a part of our post-game notes for probably the last 10 games, where we talk about Gibby making an early save and having to keep the Ducks in it early on.
No, it's true, and it usually comes from sloppy play. That's just generally what it's been by. And without Gibson to make this save early, you kind of wonder where the Ducks would be throughout this season. We've talked so much about how much he's carried this team, and even though this save, who knows how the game would have turned out? They need these types of saves early. It's a confidence builder, something the Ducks can look back on and be like, all right, that was our guy saving our bacon again, night in, night out.
Yeah, and the play just kind of continued a little bit back and forth for most of the first period. There's a lot of good pressure from the Ducks. Torrey Mitchell had another chance in the circle where Gibby just got enough of a rolling puck. But it kind of seemed like Anaheim was pushing the pace early. And then, of course, Cogliano and Kessler collide at the blue line. It gives Doughty all kinds of space to just walk in, and he fires it top corner on Gibson. And this is just kind of a typical goal for the Ducks to give up. Just a miscue at the blue line, and it allows Doughty to make it 1-0 Kings.
I mean, it went off the crook of the arm, I felt like, on Gibby. He almost had that. Like, he almost had that next save, and we would have been like, thank God. But, I mean, you give Doughty that much time. He's world-class. He's going to find a hole, and he did. And, I mean, he makes no mistakes on that play.
Yeah, and, you can't give a guy like that much space, and you can't fault Gibby, and really it's just such an unfortunate play. You don't really want to pass the blame on to anybody. It's just Cogliano and Kessler getting a little bit mixed up, and unfortunately leads to a goal. But right after that, I mean, the Ducks had one of their best chances in the first period, and this is a theme throughout the entire game where Getzlaf is able to find Perry wide open on the back post. He just can't handle the pass. Had a wide open net, and it would have been 1-1. He just couldn't handle it.
You know what the great thing about this, though, is?
What?
If I just made sense right there. The great thing about this is the Ducks get scored on. They don't let down. They don't get beaten down.
True, yeah.
They didn't suck the air out of the building. It was still just everything was humming along. The Ducks still look fresh. And this is something we haven't really seen all that much as of late. And it didn't seem to hurt them. And the play of the Ducks, especially by Ryan Getzlaf. I mean, how many times did he find Perry tonight?
It was at least 5 or 6.
I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
Unreal, Perry. This game could have easily been 6-1 Anaheim, just based on how much Ryan Getzlaf dominated this game. But yeah, Perry just off the heel of the stick, wide on quick.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the Ducks just continued to push the play after this. There was a chance where Cogliano threw the puck on net, bounced around a bit, but nobody could get the stick on it. Quick was able to cover that. Then Getzlaf finds Manson coming into the zone late, and it would have been a good shot on net, but it hits Perry in front. And then the last chance comes on where a puck came loose behind the net, and Derek Grant has a beautiful chance in front, but again it's saved by Quick. I mean, he was on fire early, and he was really good throughout the entire game for LA, but it shows because he was the only rested King in this game, and he was on point for most of the game.
No, he was. It's hard for me to go after him this game. I love going after Quick. Anybody who knows me from Puck Guys knows that I go after Quick. I have so many friends who say this guy's elite, and I'm like, he's had like elite seasons, like he's had good seasons, but I mean, really the most of his play is average, I feel like. But I mean, this game he was spectacular this game. I mean, through and through. I mean, maybe at the OT goal you could fault him, but I mean, other than that, Quick was on his game tonight.
Yeah, and then LA kind of comes right back, and I guess this, other than the goal, this is really their only significant chance of this period. And Clifford comes back the other way right after that Grant chance, gets a good chance on Gibson, who makes a save. And there's a good rebound shot, but the net actually came off before the shot comes off. Gibson makes the save anyway.
Still makes the save.
Yeah, he's still, and the second save was better than the first one, but he didn't have to because the net comes off. A couple more chances to round out the first period. Manson had a good shot that created a rebound. Kessler couldn't poke it past Quick. And then I just have written here, I mean, the game has just been crazy to this point. I mean, it was back and forth hockey throughout the entire first period. It was just nuts at that point. I mean, this is the game you kind of expect between these teams. Nothing really feisty going on too much in the first period, but just some exciting hockey.
Yeah, how about that little shake and bake Raquel had on Doughty?
Yeah.
Totally just walked right around him. I made sure I text my Kings buddies that right away. So, hey, did you see that? Did you see that play? I know you love Doughty, but come on.
He burned him a couple times. Yeah, he
did.
He can burn anybody, though. I mean, when he's on his game, he has the ability and the skill set to pretty much burn anybody. And Doughty is a Norris winning defenseman, and he made him look silly, turned him around on that play.
It was great, man. So that would end the first period. The Ducks would get the shot advantage 16-10. Kings with the 1-0 lead heading into the second.
Yeah, and I think it was a good, solid first period. And the Ducks continued that early on in the second. They had some good pressure to start, and it led to Getzlaf and Perry 2-on-1. And this is what we were talking about with Getzlaf finding Perry, but he just couldn't bury it again. I mean, they made some pretty passing, but no finish on the play.
No, and that's the play where I felt like Getz probably should have shot that, just because he can laser that into a corner. He doesn't use his shot enough, and I know everyone's ragged on him. He's been asked probably countless times by reporters why he doesn't shoot more. And he's just going to tell you that's not his game. But I mean, if Perry just gets any sort of like handle on that, Quick is down and out on his side, no chance. It was just a story of the night for Perry, but luckily it didn't hurt the Ducks.
Yeah, and if Getzlaf wasn't getting it done enough on the offensive side, he comes back the other way and blocks what would have been a sure goal from Ledoux with his foot. I mean, it was a sprawling block. Just getting it done on both ends of the ice this game, and he was easily the Ducks' best player.
Against the Kings' fourth line, if I remember correctly, right? That's what I just was like. Why are they having a dominant shift? This should not be happening. And luckily, Getz was there with the skate to deflect it over the net.
Yeah, and the Kings actually took control of this second period. There's a lot of turnovers from the Ducks. The Kings are making it hard for the Ducks to exit their own zone. And this led to what we kind of see as a trend as of late. Gibson having to make some solid saves. He stops Kempe on a 2-on-1 because, of course, he does. I mean, he just has that ability as of late to make key saves. And then Josh Manson. I think this is what people were waiting for. He just leveled Kyle Clifford at center ice. I mean, he just rocked him. And then he goes and he rocks Mitchell about a minute later as well.
I got to go back to the whole play there where Kempe had the 2-on-1 and Toe drags it into his skates. As much as I was like flipping out about Fowler sliding over trying to take him out, like he put Kempe in a position where he couldn't get a lot on that shot. So, I mean, as much as I was going to get pissed about it, I was like, thankfully it pushed him far enough back. But those hits by Manson, everyone wishes, at least if you don't like the Kings, that Manson was lining up Kopitar or something like that, of course. But he gets the big hit on Clifford there. And Clifford's a big dude. So you know that was just a lot of power in that hit. And then were you not waiting for the penalty call on Josh Manson for the hit on Torrey Mitchell? I thought sure there was going to be a penalty.
I thought so too, but the refs were calling this game tight. I mean, there was nothing getting called. Later on, we'll get to it too. I mean, Getzlaf gets tripped up, I think, in the third period. And Phaneuf at one point slashed JT Brown, and there was no call. They were not calling anything in this game, which I guess I kind of enjoyed it a bit. I mean, it made it less whistles. There wasn't a lot of power plays that really shifted the play. So in some cases, I liked it. But yeah, I really was waiting for some kind of interference call, roughing call, or something, because he doesn't necessarily hit him high, but he had his hands up near his face.
Yeah, and they usually always just, they always shy on the side of caution.
Yeah,
and they always make that sort of call. And then on the replay, I'm sure everyone just saw his arm extend, even though he'd already hit him. He didn't lead with an extension, but I thought for sure they were going to call something. So luckily they didn't. But you're right, they kind of had their whistles away, which really added to the playoff feel of this game because you don't really see a ton of calls. But I was also surprised too, Eddie, about the lack of nastiness in this game. This game didn't get crazy. There was a couple of plays by Perry being Perry, or Kessler doing Kessler stuff in front of the net, but no one got crazy. I really felt like this game was played really tight and physical, and that neither team wanted to give the other team a power play. They were just like, no, we can't make that kind of mistake.
Yeah, it was playoff hockey. I mean, it was as close, at least, as playoff hockey as you can get during the regular season. They knew that they weren't going to give the other team a power play. There was some rough stuff after the whistle, but nobody took it too far, just to let guys know that they're still here, that there's still some nastiness there. But yeah, no, I don't think anybody was willing to get in a fight tonight or risk taking an instigator penalty or any kind of penalty and putting the other team on the power play, because this was as tight as a game I think you could get between these two teams, and we see it often. I mean, we see it with the Ducks and the Sharks, we see it with the Ducks and the Kings often. I think nobody's surprised that this one came out and it ended up 2-1. Looking at the chat, when we were talking about Josh Manson, he said he's like a brick wall. I think that's probably the perfect description for Josh Manson, or at least for when people run into him. I feel like that's what they're thinking, because he hits hard. I mean, he's a big guy to begin with, but most of his hits, he just levels guys.
Yeah, and he doesn't miss too many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that's great about him. If he's going to go out of his way to hit you,